Now I'd like to get to the main attraction. I'd like to welcome Ian Wong to the stage. He's a co-founder and chief technology officer of Opendoor, where he's responsible for the development of product and technology. He was previously pursuing his PhD in electrical engineering at Stanford when he dropped out to join Square as the first data scientist. Ian is an avid reader. More importantly, he was raised in Vancouver and loves outdoors. We're excited to be here today with him sharing his time and insights with the TechTO community. Please hit the applause button as we welcome Ian to the stage.
Hey, Alex, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing well. It's good to see you. And Jason is hilarious.
Well, there's a reason I work with Jason. You know, he brings energy. He brings a funk.
That's amazing.
So, first of all, I have to ask you: is it safe, smoke-free day in California?
It is. So we monitor the AQI religiously here, and it's green. And it was crazy a couple of weeks ago. So my family is from Vancouver, so I still have my mom and my brothers are there, and obviously I'm here in San Francisco. And the fires were so bad, my mom could smell it in Vancouver. It's all along the West Coast. It's pretty bad, but today is green, which is good.
Well, you know, now you're in San Francisco. Why don't you tell us a bit of that journey from Vancouver to where you are today?
Yeah, so I actually grew up partly in Hong Kong, and I was part of the diaspora of folks who emigrated from Hong Kong into Canada around 97. And grew up in Canada. You know, I always thought I was going to go to U of T or Waterloo. I was always into technology and science. But one thing led to another, and it was funny because my friends started taking SATs and APs. I was like, oh, what are those classes? And then one thing led to another, and then I found myself here in the Bay Area. So I came here for college. I did my undergrad and grad school at Stanford. But yeah, I mean, I studied electrical engineering. I studied statistics. And I found myself actually wanting to be a professor. And so I was actually in a PhD program, which I didn't finish. And my mom still asks me about that today. Hey, Ian, like, when are you going to finish your PhD?
So she just wants to be able to call you a doctor.
Yeah. My middle brother's a dentist, so that kind of is a doctor. So
Tom's got covered.
Yeah, she's one of us has got it covered for her.
So you wanted to be a professor. You were doing a PhD. What happened?
Yeah, so it was interesting as I was going through the PhD, I realized that there are certain areas that actually the industry was leading academia. And in fact, the industry had far more interesting and impactful problems than the ones that we were trying to solve in the ivory towers of the Stanfords and MITs of the world. And one of the things that really just made it explicitly clear to me was I actually interned at Facebook as a data scientist back in 2009, 2010. And I realized, holy crap, none of the things I was studying in school was useful. And in fact, like it required a completely new way of actually handling data. It required new ways of actually thinking about products and machine learning at scale. And that's when I realized actually, you got to get out of that bubble and enter the real world, so to speak.
Interesting. So you wanted to enter the real world. You figured out academia is great, but not good enough. How'd you get the job at Square? I hear it was not the usual recruiting route.
Yeah, it's funny. So at that time, I was a board graduate student in statistics at Stanford. And at that time, Quora.com was just beginning to be a thing. And so I started answering, as a board graduate student would do, all sorts of statistics questions on the website. And then I got invited to a user party. And so I was at the user party and I was, I don't know, like just meeting up with other Quora early users. And Keith Raboy, who was the COO at Square, was part of that, was there. And as an icebreaker, Keith at that time just asked, answered all sorts of interesting startup questions on Quora. And I was like, oh, you're the guy that always answers these questions about startups. And then as an icebreaker, I was like, hey, do you got a job for me? I'm looking to drop out of my grad school. And that's literally how I got introduced to Jack Dorsey, who's the CEO at Square. And so that's how I got my start in startups.